On behalf on weekly journal club presentation of Department of Pathology BSMU, welcome you all to the today's presentation. Today's topic is metaplasia, tissue injury adaptation and a precursor to the dysplasia cancer sequence. Our presenters are Dr. Onik Bishas and Dr. Ummehani Samia. Members of panel are Rapporteur Dr. Isha Jahan, presenters Dr. Ummehani Samia Alam, Dr. Onik Bishas. This presentation is under supervision of Dr. Soumitra Chakraborty, Assistant Professor of BSMMU. And we have panelist 1, Dr. Sharian Nahid, Phase B Year 3, panelist 2, Dr. Sadia Afroz, Phase B Year 4, and resident chairperson Dr. Sarada Sirajul Mahamuda. Now we will progress to the program schedule, starting with the main presentation. After the presentation, there will be question answer session. The audiences are invited to ask questions, and then we have short speeches from our panelists 1, 2, and chairperson. And in the second part of the program, we have session from our respected chairman, madam. And then I would like to proceed to the presentation, main presentation. I would like to request Dr. Onik Bishas to present his part of presentation.
Thank you. Honorable Chairman, respected teachers, and my dear fellow colleagues. Assalamu alaikum. I, Dr. Ummehani Samia, Year 1, Phase A resident, Department of Pathology, BSMMU, welcome you all to today's journal club presentation. And today's topic, metaplasia, tissue injury adaptation, and a precursor to the dysplasia cancer sequence. At first, what is metaplasia? Metaplasia is the replacement of one differentiated somatic cell type with another differentiated somatic cell type in the same tissue. A hallmark of metaplasia is a change in cellular identity, and this process can be regulated by transcription factors, perhaps in concert with epigenetic reprogramming. Metaplasia tends to occur in tissues constantly exposed to environmental agents, which are often injurious in nature. The type of metaplasia depends upon the resident tissue. On basis of this, metaplasia may be categorized as squamous metaplasia, intestinal metaplasia, acinar ductal metaplasia. Now come to the point, squamous metaplasia. Squamous metaplasia may take place in lung airway, endocervix, mammary gland, skin ulcer or scar. Exposure to injurious stimuli such as in lungs, cigarette smoking, in cervix, low vaginal pH or human papillomavirus infection, in mammary gland, chronic inflammation and infection. All this triggers a metaplastic response and causes in total replacement of columnar epithelium to squamous cell epithelium. And if this stimulus persists, it may lead to low-grade to high-grade dysplasia and ultimately result in squamous cell carcinoma. This figure shows squamous metaplasia of cervix. External stimuli promote the conversion of normal columnar cell to metaplastic squamous cell, which then stratify. Now, the second major type of metaplasia, intestinal metaplasia, which is found in the distal esophagus at the gastroesophageal junction or in the glandular stomach. In esophagus, acid and or bile reflux obesity triggers the incomplete intestinal metaplasia, which is also known as Barrett esophagus. In stomach, Helicobacter pylori infection, low vitamin C, vegetable and fruit intake promote conversion of columnar epithelium to intestinal epithelium. If this injurious stimuli persist, it can culminate in esophageal adenocarcinoma and gastric adenocarcinoma respectively. Figure showing Intestinal metaplasia of glandular stomach. Here, numerous goblet cells and columnar absorptive cells are present, which is characteristic of intestinal metaplasia. Now, the acinar ductal metaplasia, which may take place in pancreas, mammary gland, or salivary gland due to chronic inflammation. And if inflammation persists for a long time in pancreas, it may lead to pancreatic intraepithelial neoplasia and ultimately pancreatic ductal adenocarcinoma. The figure showing the acinar ductal metaplasia of pancreas, where acinar cells are replaced by ductal-like cells. Now, the cell of origin of metaplasia. In Barrett's esophagus, it tends to occur in gastric cardiac cell of squamocolumnar junction or in esophageal basal cell or esophageal submucosal gland. In gastric intestinal metaplasia, it may occur in chief cell of gastric antrum and body or gastric isthmus stem cell. In cervical squamous metaplasia, it may be seen in endocervical cribs. Now, I would like to hand over my microphone to my colleague, Dr. Onik Bishesh, to continue the rest of the presentation. Thank you all. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much, Dr. Samia Alam, for your nice presentation. Honorable Chairman, respected teachers, and dear residents, Assalamu alaikum. I am presenting the rest part of the presentation. Regulation of metaplasia. The some drivers of metaplasia is identified. One of them is transcriptional factor. Transcriptional factor P63 and SOX protein 2 that play a critical role in maintaining stratified squamous lining. If the expansion of P63 and SOX2 protein that causes adoption of esophageal basal cell lineage in the lung tissue, and subsequently it causes metaplastic squamous epithelium in the airway. If these factors reduced, like SOX2 protein that lost the generation of stratified squamous epithelium pattern and formation of columnar epithelium in place of stratified squamous cells that ultimately culminate into intestinal metaplasia of the esophagus and stomach. On the other hand, the deletion of the gene encoding BARASE X1 protein that result in the presence of secretory columnar cell in the region of squamous cell and formation of columnar epithelium in the place of stratified squamous cell, and which also culminate into intestinal metaplasia of the esophagus. And another transcription factor is caudal differentiation factor X2, which is critical regulator of normal intestinal epithelial cell phenotype, the overexpression of which modulates cell cycle progression and proliferate and differentiation, which culminate into Barrett esophagus and gastric intestinal metaplasia. On the other hand, provocated knockout of CDX2 protein accompanied by ectopic presence of P63 and SOX2 that causes the proliferation differentiation with squamous cell lineage and squamous metaplasia. Another transcription factor is PTF1 alpha, pancreatic transformation factor 1 alpha, that maintain the normal acinar cell lineage in pancreas. Transgenic expression of PDX1 at the locus of pancreatic transformation factor 1 alpha and induction of PRRX1 and SOX9 axis, as well as the mutation of KRAS that involve in transformation growth factor alpha and epidermal growth factor receptor signaling pathway, which is also stimulated by STAT3 activation. And this causes transition of acinar cell to the ductal cell, and subsequently, with the influence of inflammation and MEK-RAK signaling, it converts into pancreatic acinar ductal metaplasia. On the other hand, transcription factor MIST1, which have critical role in maturation of epithelial progenitor cell in pancreas and stomach, If the deletion of MIST1 occurs, a cell fate switch occur in the differentiated exocrine cell in the pancreas and block the differentiation of chief cell in stomach, which ultimately causes the pancreatic acinar ductal metaplasia and the stem of the stomach. Now come to the epigenetic and genomic consideration. The basis of epigenetic and genomic consideration based on the epigenetic regulation that fuel chromatin remodeling, which permit binding of genomic loci by transcription factor, which ultimately create a cell framework for metaplasia. Here, p53 mutation that causes serve as the gatekeeper of maintenance of metaplasia and drive the conversion of metaplasia to low-grade dysplasia. On the other hand, loss of CDKN2A, which is inhibitor of cell cycle progression, that result in enhancement of the cell cycle progression, and deletion of SMAD4, which foster a pro-proliferative environment, and amplification of GATA6, which having oncogenic properties, and all of this tends to metaplastic change, leads to Barrett's esophagus. Now the key factors of metaplasia. The key factors of metaplasia is pathogens, inflammation, and immunocells that act due to the stressful environment that force epithelial cell to change its identity and lineage specification. Here in the figure, we are showing that the native epithelial cell, squamous or glandular epithelium, due to the stressful environment like irritation, noxious agent, chronic acid reflux, vaginal low pH, tobacco, alcohol, etc., that causes the chronic inflammation, and this inflammation may cause persistent injury and metaplasia, or it may act non-epithelial action like immunocell and macrophage that produce cytokines, free radicals, chemokines, and others, which also influence the metaplastic changes, and it also causes the downregulation of immunosurveillance and the genetic and epigenetic changes. And ultimately, this metaplastic change may convert into dysplasia or carcinoma. Future translational direction of metaplasia. Each of the metaplasia is defined through the characteristic of morphology, histopathology, or lineage-specific marker like transcription factors. There are some techniques for elaborate screening of metaplasia like genomic transcriptome analysis, cell-free DNA, circulating epithelium, and identification of metaplastic cells. And this is the future of metaplasia, and future research in metaplasia should continue to focus or elaborate upon determining cell or cell of origin, carrying out new or extended genomic analysis, developing more model system, and applying this knowledge to prevention and therapy. And the take-home message from metaplasia is the contrast to the initial development of metaplasia, which is viewed as an adaptive phase that occurs in response to environmental stress. The progression of metaplasia to dysplasia may be viewed as an oncogenic phase, so that this metaplasia is called double-edged sword. Thank you all. Thank you, everyone. Now,
Thank you, Dr. Onik Bishas and Dr. Samia Leon for your nice presentation. Now it's question answer session.
Probably 2 microphones are active at your end, Dr. Israt. That's why there is an echo. Dr. Israt, please continue with 1 microphone.
Now,
okay, it's okay.
Session.
It's okay now. Please continue with the questions in the chat box.
Okay. We have some questions in our chat box. First question is, we have some questions in our chat box. First question is from Dr. Kasim Haji. Can metaplasia have advantage?
Dr. Israt,
Yes.
your sound is not coming properly.
Okay, I will repeat. There are some questions in our chat box. First question is from Dr. Kasim Haji. Can metaplasia have advantages?
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Kashimji, for your nice question. Yes, metaplasia have some advantages. It usually occur in the condition where there is a stressful environment, and in this stressful environment, when the cell of normal epithelium that cannot sustain that strenuous environment, then the stem cell reprogram the cell to the other type of adult cell, which can stand at that situation, like in the squamous metaplasia of the lung, in which the cigarette smoking causes irritation in the lung epithelium, which cannot be stand by the columnar cell. But if there is a squamous cell in there, it can withstand this stressful condition, and in some extent it is helpful for us, and it is beneficial for us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Second question is from Dr. Nafisa Sharmin. Why myositis ossificans occurs? Is it simply an adaptive response or any other causes are there?
Thank you, Dr. Nafisa Sharmin. Myositis ossificans usually occur in the muscle where the intermuscular humor is present, and here it is some type of dystrophic calcification occurs, and it is not clearly seen as an adaptive response. It may be a result of cell or tissue injury. Thank you.
Next question is from Dr. Taslim Ahmed. And the question is, what are the metaplasia of mesenchymal tissue?
Dr. Irshad, repeat your question.
Okay. Question from Dr. Tasnim Ahmed. What are the metaplasia of mesenchymal tissue?
Mesenchymal tissue, thank you, Dr. Tasnim. Mesenchymal tissue metaplasia usually occur when the formation of cartilage, bone, or adipose tissue. The previous question was myositis ossificans. It also a mesenchymal tissue metaplasia, and
Okay. Next question is from Dr. Tasmia Islam Trisha. The question is it possible to occur metaplasia without chronic irritation?
Thank you, Dr. Tasmia Trisha, for your nice question. Apart from chronic irritation, metaplasia can occur due to hypovitaminaceous A, because vitamin A plays an important role in maintenance of structure of epithelium by regulating the gene transcription directly through nuclear retinoid receptor. So deficiency of vitamin A causes dysregulation of transcription factors and causes metaplasia. Thank you.
Next question are Dr. Nafisa Abedin Kotha. What is tumor metaplasia? Why it is not called it is simply metaplasia?
Thank you,
And next
Dr.
question, what are the common metaplasia encountered in endometrium?
Thank you, Dr. Nafisa Bedin, for a nice question. Tumor metaplasia is a special type of metaplasia. Actually, it occurs when commonly in adenocarcinoma to the squamous cell carcinoma conversion in the lung, gallbladder, endometrium. Here, the tumor commences as an adenocarcinoma, but that a change occur in some of its tissue leading to squamous differentiation, squamous conversion, and the occurrence of mixed adenocarcinoma and squamous cell carcinoma takes place at the same tissue. But in a strict sense, we cannot say it metaplasia because tumor cannot regard as completely differentiated tissue. So, as definition of metaplasia, we cannot say it straight metaplasia. So we call it tumor metaplasia. Thank you.
Okay. Next question is from Dr. Salma. Her question is,
One of the question is
what is
missed.
complete?
One of the question is missed, which from Dr. Nafisa. There is another question which was not answered.
This is okay. Dr. Nafisa Sharmin. Her question is, what is the differences between myositis ossificans and osseous metaplasia?
Sorry.
Not that one. What are the common metaplasia encountered in endometrium? That one means.
Sorry for the missed question. The common metaplasia encountered in endometrium is the squamous metaplasia of the endometrium. And
Dr. Onik, if you are not sure about it,
actually,
have to answer
sorry,
it.
I'm not confirmed about this question.
What about your colleague, the other presenter? Can she answer that?
No, she cannot also.
Okay.
You can pass to your chairperson or specialist to one.
Actually,
metaplasia or serial metaplasia, mucinous metaplasia, squamous metaplasia.
Okay, so what are the, what are the common metaplasia? Squamous metaplasia or intestinal metaplasia are not that common in endometrium. So what are the common metaplasia? Okay.
Okay, next question is from Dr. Salma. What is complete and incomplete intestinal metaplasia? And another question is, what is the clinical significance?
Thank you, Dr. Salma, for your nice question. Complete intestinal metaplasia means where normal small intestinal epithelium containing acid mucin goblet cells with absorptive enterocyte and brush border. And incomplete intestinal metaplasia means here colonic epithelium with incomplete mucin expression and absence of a mature brush border. And clinical significance is in incomplete intestinal metaplasia, there is a high risk for gastric cancer. Thank you.
Okay. Next question is from Dr. Nafisa Sharmin. What is the differences between myositis ossificans and osseous metaplasia?
we are extremely sorry, Dr. Nafisa Sharmin. We don't know actually what is the basic difference between these two. Maybe we can take help from our resident chairperson or our supervisor, sir.
Dr. Nafisa, you better answer this question. Do you know the answer, Nafisa?
Nafisa Sharmin is there?
Yes, madam.
Ah,
Madam,
do
I'm
you know the
actually
answer?
confused about this, and so that's why I asked this question.
Okay. So the myositis ossificans is a very specific type of a specific example of osseous metaplasia, where the muscle or part of the muscle becomes bone-like. But the osseous metaplasia in general doesn't have to be always to develop from muscle tissue. It can develop in other types of connective tissue as well. So although the one of the most common example is myositis ossificans, but osseous metaplasia is a superset and myositis ossificans is kind of a subset of it. This in very short I can tell about this, but if you're interested, it can be elaborated later.
Thank you very much, sir.
Next question is from Dr. Akhtaruজ্জামান. Can we say every metaplasia as a pre-malignant condition?
Thank you, Dr. Akhtaruজ্জামান, for your nice question. In case of metaplasia, if all metaplasia does not convert into dysplasia or any higher grade dysplasia, so every metaplasia is not a pre-malignant condition. But when the metaplastic chains convert into low grade or high grade dysplasia, it may cause malignancy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next question is from Dr. Sajjad Hossain. To prevent cancer progression.
Thank you, Dr. Sajjad, for your very nice question. Yes, we can screen metaplasia or metaplasia dysplasia continuum by the means of histopathology or any tumor markers like transcription factor and others. But this depends on the access of the tissue. Like if we see the esophagus or stomach by endoscopy, cervix by pap smear, to identify the risk of dysplasia and cancer needs elaborate strategies like genomic and transcriptome analysis and cell-free DNA, circulating epithelial or tumor cell identification may be helpful in assessing the different metaplastic state and subtyping patient. And circulating metaplastic materials might identify those who have likely to progress dysplasia or harbor dysplastic cell in any site. It is important from the therapeutic point of view because ablation through mechanical and chemical modalities in the cervix, bladder, or skin that may be an approach to eradicate metaplastic lesion and save from the oncogenic transformation. Thank you.
Another question from Dr. Akhtaruজ্জামান. Can withdrawal of stimulus that causes metaplasia reverse the metaplastic cell type to normal cell type?
Thank you, Dr. Akhtaruজ্জামান, for your nice question. Withdrawal of stimulus can cause the reverse of the metaplastic cell type to normal cell type. As for example, in Helicobacter pylori infection that causes the intestinal metaplasia, if we give the Helicobacter pylori eradication treatment, it may revert back to the normal cell. Thank you.
From Dr. Mahbub Alam, the question is, what's the risk for developing esophageal cancer in patients with Barrett's esophagus?
Thank you, Dr. Mahbub, for your nice question. Usually acid or bile reflux and obesity are the risk factor for developing of esophageal esophageal metaplasia, and which may ultimately leads to esophageal adenocarcinoma. Thank you.
From Dr. Iftekhar, the question is, what will be the radiological findings of myositis ossificans?
Sorry. Thank you, Dr. Iftekhar, for your nice question. But actual code for this comment, I actually don't know, but probably it will show as the what is dense shadow in the muscle or something like this. Maybe from our resident chairperson, we can invite this answer. Our resident chairperson, Dr. Mahmouda, can you please answer this question? Or
Am I audible?
yes, you're audible.
Okay. The typical radiographic appearance of myositis ossificans is circumferential calcification with a lucent center and a radiolucent cleft called string sign that separates the lesion from the cortex of attention. Thank you.
This is today's Janaka presentation. What is metaplastic lesions of urinary bladder?
Thank you, Dr. Prapya, for your nice question. Metaplastic lesions of the urinary bladder. We both presenters to know the list of these lesions. Maybe our resident chairperson can help us to answering this.
Resident chairperson, Dr. Mahmouda.
Everyone, the metaplastic
Please
Question-
be a little louder. The resident chairperson, please make yourself louder a bit. We cannot hear you.
Dr. Mahmouda,
The answer is from Dr. Papia Rahman.
Okay, Dr. Papia. Papia, first you unmute and answer the question.
everyone. The answer of my question are the metaplastic lesion of the inner bladder are cystitis cystica, cystitis glandularis, and malakoplakia. These are all metaplastic lesions of the inner bladder. Thank you.
Okay, now we will proceed to the panelist session. I would like to call Our first panelist, Dr. Shahriar Nahid, Phase B Year 3 resident, to share his opinion.
Thank you, Dr. Israt. Thank you, Dr. Onik and Dr. Samia, for your nice and elaborate presentation. Honorable Chairman, Madam, respected teachers, and my dear fellow colleagues, Assalamu alaikum. I would like to say a few words about the clinical significance of metaplasia and transdifferentiation. Transdifferentiation is defined as the conversion of one cell type to another. It belongs to a wider class of cell type transformation called metaplasia, which also include cases in which stem cells of one tissue type switch to completely different stem cell. Example of transdifferentiation include the lens of the eye can be formed from the epithelial cell of the iris. Transdifferentiation is associated with a discrete change in the program of gene expression. At the molecular level, the cause of transdifferentiation is presumably a change in the expression of a master switch gene, whose normal function is to distinguish the two cell types in normal development. The term metaplasia was coined following anatomical and histological observation of unexpected appearance of a foreign tissue in ectopic sites. The term applies to a wider class of cell types interconversion and is commonly used to describe switch in cells or tissue type. The conversion of one cell type to another is clinically significant for two reasons. The first is because metaplasia predisposes to certain form of neoplasia or the development of cancer. One of the best studied example of this type of conversion is Barrett's metaplasia. The second reason is understanding the individual molecular and cellular steps leading to the appearance of ectopic tissue could result either in the identification of early markers suitable for diagnostic purposes and even in the production of therapeutic strategies for curing the disease. Cellular therapies are now part of a newly emerging sciences of regenerative medicine. The term regenerative medicine refers to the stimulation of regeneration of damaged and defective tissues. It is clear from the result of research performed both in recent years and many decades ago, the adult stem cell and differentiated cells are more versatile than was previously thought. We now know that in certain situations, genes can drive differentiated cell to a particular phenotype. For an example, MyoD will convert many cell lines to muscles. One future possibility is to identify genes that will, for example, convert in single step bone marrow to cardiomyocytes or pancreatic beta cells. That's all for me. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Shahriar Nahid, for your part. Now I would like to call Dr. Sadia Afroz, Phase B Year 4 resident, to share her opinion. Honorable Chairman, Sir, respected teachers, and my dear fellow colleagues, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Dr. Onik Bishas and Dr. Samia, for your elaborate presentation. Am I audible to all? Thank you, Dr.
Yes, you're audible.
For your elaborate presentation. Am I audible to all? Thank you to give me the opportunity to say something of osseous metaplasia. Osseous metaplasia or heterotopic ossification is a rare phenomenon with unknown etiology, which is characterized by the formation of mature bone with or without the hematopoietic tissue development in the stroma of different tumors. Calcification are present in a variety of benign, malignant, as well as inflammatory conditions, In contrast to calcification, osseous metaplasia is a rare event in any organ or tissues. Osseous metaplasia is demonstrated in colonic carcinoma, renal cell carcinoma, osteosarcoma of kidney, ovarian carcinoma, hepatocellular carcinoma, rectal polyp, malignant melanoma, breast carcinoma, fibrous histiocytoma, perineuroma, etc. A number of hypotheses have been proposed in the pathogenesis of osseous metaplasia, such as bone can originate through either the differentiation of neoplastic cells into a sarcomatous proliferation, or the production of a dense collagenous matrix by mesenchymal cell with subsequent mineralization and organization into bone. The fibroblasts of mesenchymal cell origin integrate the tumor implants by forming collagen fibers and differentiating into osteoblasts and adipocytes, which very few data available regarding the prognosis of osseous metaplasia in cancer suggest that it might not have adverse prognostic outcome. That's all from me. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Sadia, for your part. Now I would like to call Dr. Shirazu Mahmouda, FESB Year 4 resident chairperson, to conclude the panelist session with her opinion.
Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. Honorable Chairman, respected teachers, and my dear colleagues. Assalamu alaikum. At first, I would like to thank our presenters for their precise presentation and both of our panelists for their valuable opinion. The session was really very enjoyable, and the participation of the residents during the question answer session was really appreciable. But it made my part difficult because the things I prepared for my part has already been answered during question answer session. Okay. Then I'm proceeding. Today's topic was metaplasia, a very basic thing in general pathology and a very, very common finding in cases we get in our department. Every day we deal with many samples having chronic cervicitis with common metaplasia, chronic cholecystitis with antral metaplasia. Still, its diagnosis is not easy. Often the immature metaplastic cells take suspicion of neoplasia. Today presented I will cover almost everything about metaplasia from molecular pathogenesis. But unfortunately, the topic of connective tissue metaplasia is missed. It's not even included in the classification. I don't know why. We do get cases of connective tissue metaplasia like myositis ossificans, which was the residents were asking about it frequently. Although it is not as frequent as squamous metaplasia we get in our department. Another important thing that is missed, I think, the tumor metaplasia. The occurrence of mixed adeno and squamous cell carcinoma is not uncommon, and this phenomenon can be explained by tumor metaplasia. Someone was asking that why tumor metaplasia, it is called tumor metaplasia, not any squamous metaplasia or something else. The assumption is that tumor begins as an adenocarcinoma, then some change occurs in some of its cells, leading to squamous differentiation. But as the neoplastic cells cannot be regarded as properly differentiated cells, so the metaplasia happened here cannot be called squamous metaplasia in strict sense. Rather, we will call it tumor metaplasia, which is a common finding in adenocarcinoma of lung, gallbladder, endometrium, pleomorphic salivary gland neoplasm, transitional cell carcinoma of urinary tract, and etc. At the last, I will say we should carefully comment about metaplasia in our reports, as because it leads to dysplasia and sometimes malignancy. If we report about it, the patient will get proper follow-up, which will make early detection and treatment of the cancer possible. Thank you all for patient hearing.
Thank you.
Dr. Ishrat, you're muted.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Mahmuda, for your valuable opinion. Now, I would like to proceed to our teacher session. I would like to request respected teachers to ask questions or add their comments regarding today's presentation.
Okay, thank you, today's deputier, for your part. I'd like to request our teacher, if anybody
Madam, we cannot hear you. Hello.
I would like to request you, if you have any question or comment about this presentation.
Oh, thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, madam. Thank you, madam.
Do you have any comment or question?
Well, I'd like to say that the presenters and the other participants of this presentation, the resident participants, they really worked hard towards this presentation, because the photomicrographs they showed were taken from from our department. Those are not taken from internet or anywhere. It was from our department. The slides were from our department. I helped them to get the photomicrograph, and the flowcharts and etc. what they prepared was not was just described in the article, in the original article. The article didn't actually give any diagram. They went through the article and prepared those diagrams themselves regarding the genetic mechanisms and everything. And also that since the article itself didn't cover the tumor metaplasia and mesenchymal metaplasia that well, the panelists and other speakers, they tried to cover so that it becomes a 360-degree presentation. So they really worked towards this pretty hard, which I appreciate as a supervisor here. And I hope the teachers the other faculty members will give their valuable opinion regarding further improvement and other aspects of the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Soumitra. Now I would like to request other teacher. Do you have any question or comment? Vishnu?
Hello, I can make question.
Yes, of course.
I like to know the definition. I am going to first of the session give the definition of the metaplasia. From yourself.
Thank you, sir. Sir, metaplasia is the replacement of one differentiated somatic cell type with another differentiated somatic cell type in the same tissue.
Yes, it is not the transform of one cell type to another cell type. It is replacement. It is the basic thing. What are the source of the cells of the metaplastic cell?
So it is the reprogramming of the stem cell that are present in that tissue.
What are the changes in the respiratory tract in the deficiency of vitamin A?
Sir, columnar to replacement of the columnar cell to squamous cell.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Taika madam, do you have any question or comment
আচ্ছা
regarding
আমাকে শোনা যাচ্ছে?
bladder metaplasia? Yes, I
হ্যাঁ।
can hear you.
আচ্ছা আমি বাংলাতে একটা কথা বলতে চাই, সেটা হচ্ছে যে আজকের প্রেজেন্টেশনে যেটা আমি ফলো করলাম, মানে এটা ওভারকাম করা দরকার মনে হয়। সবারই মোটামুটি ইকো হচ্ছিল রেসিডেন্টদের। এটা কি বড় রুমে থাকার জন্য? আই মিন হোয়াট ইজ দ্য রিজন বিহাইন্ড দিস? ইকো হচ্ছিল কেন? একটু ডক্টর সৌমিত্র আপনাকে আমি রিকোয়েস্ট করব, এটা একটু দেখবেন তো, মানে কেন হচ্ছে এরকম?
জি
হ্যাঁ, মানে কথাটা পরেও আবার শোনা যাচ্ছে এ ধরনের ইকোই হচ্ছিল না, তাই মনে
জি
হয়।
এটা আমার অবজারভেশন হচ্ছে যে এটা ইকো ইউজুয়ালি হয় তখনই যখন খুব ক্লোজ প্রক্সিমিটিতে মোর দ্যান ওয়ান মাইক্রোফোন যদি থাকে। তো মেবি দে রেসিডেন্ট রুমে দে ওয়্যার সিটিং behind together each other, having multiple microphones within a small area. So most common cause in video conferencing the echo is having more than one microphone in a small radius. So that is probably the reason.
হ্যাঁ, তাহলে ওরা যদি একসাথে ওই রুমেই থাকে তাহলে এটা কিভাবে ওভারকাম করা যায়? একটা ল্যাপটপ থেকে প্রেজেন্ট যদি করে তাহলে একজন করে উঠে গেল, আরেকজন এসে বসলো, এভাবে করে কি করা যেতে পারে?
That is a better approach.
হ্যাঁ, আই থিংক।
হ্যাঁ।
কারণ এটা আমি দেখেছি মিলন হলেও আমরা যখন করে, আমাদের তো হচ্ছে এখন অনেক, ওই একটা জায়গা ফিক্স থাকে এবং সেখানে একজন এসে, যেহেতু যারা ওনারা একই জায়গায় আপনারা থাকছেন রেসিডেন্টরা, সো ইন্ডিভিজুয়াল ল্যাপটপ বা আমি জানি না মোবাইল যাই হোক যেটা ইউজ করছেন, ওটা না করে একটাতেই বারবার এসে বসলে এটা বেটার হয়। কারণ সবার তো আর কোশ্চেন ওরকম করতে হচ্ছে না, আর যারা কোশ্চেন দিবেন চ্যাট বক্সে দে ক্যান গিভ ফ্রম देयर সাইড, এটা কোনো সমস্যা নাই, তাই না? আমার মনে হয় এটা ভালো হবে। সৌমিত্র, ইকো হচ্ছিল অনেক।
Yes madam, thank you.
হ্যাঁ, আজকে সাউন্ডেরই খুবই ডিস্টার্ব হচ্ছিল, সবার কোথায় শোনা যাচ্ছিল না।
হ্যাঁ, এটা একটা প্রবলেম আমার কাছে মনে হচ্ছে। আর প্রেজেন্টেশন খুবই ভালো। আই মিন এট লিস্ট ইয়েস দ্য ফ্লো চার্ট রিগার্ডিং দ্য জেনেটিক পার্ট, সেটা এখন নাইসলি প্রিপেয়ার্ড আমার বলতে হবে। বাট ফার্স্ট পার্টটা আমার কাছে মনে হচ্ছে একটু শর্ট, এটা একটু ইলাবোরেট করা যেতে পারতো হয়তোবা। ওকে, থ্যাংক ইউ।
Professor
I
Jindu sir is
just
with
want to
us.
make a comment, madam.
Of course.
As for me, the subject selection is good, and it is essential to understand metaplasia as a resident of pathology, no doubt about it. So metaplasia is a difficult topic. Even then, it is compared as a double-edged sword. That's why it remains more difficult, and some term like sword and even though are double-edged, that's make it more fairer.
Why it is called double-edged sword?
Yeah. So as it is remain as double-edged sword, but I think the metaplasia should study and research more and more. Because of that, it might use as treatment purpose. Like for me, some person don't develop their hair in the essential part, and they showed alopecia in the areata or alopecia in general. So if we replace the cells of hair follicle, that may shows new hair in our head also. So metaplasia might be used in treatment purpose also. Madam mentioned it as a double-edged sword because we know that every sword there is a useful work for cutting or something else, but the another is it harmful to our body, like the metaplasia protect us from chemical or irritant reason, but it develops neoplastic changes that is harmful also. So as regards the sword, But I think more and more research should made upon metaplasia. It helps us in larger aspect also. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Vishnu. Professor Zillur sir, do you have any question or comment regarding this topic?
Thank you.
Madam,
Thank the students, the residents who had presented very nicely, and the total topic is covered by any means by the panelists, because I had gone through the paper earlier and I have seen that they had classified the metaplasia only the epithelial one. So metaplasia should be classified as epithelial and mesenchymal, and then epithelial should be classified accordingly. So it was deficient in the paper, original paper, but I have seen that the panelists had covered it very nicely. Questions are also very interesting. And one question I have noticed that regarding the endometrial metaplasia, that was not clear to the residents. And endometrial metaplasia should be divided into, again, epithelial and stromal. So in the epithelial metaplasia, there are some columnar to columnar metaplasia occurs, where some papillary changes may occur in the endometrium. Again, in the stroma, there are some cartilaginous and osseous metaplasia may occur. So this should be noticed. Another interesting question I have seen regarding the urinary bladder metaplasia, which is lastly answered as cystitis cystica. We must understand that metaplasia in urinary bladder usually very not much common, but it occurs for long term or sustained catheterization. So catheter induced problems may occur. So these are all covered, and myositis ossificans and other osseous metaplasia are also discussed thoroughly. I find that it was a nice session for the day, and I like to thank Dr. Soumitra for preparing his students properly. Thank you, madam.
Professor Zillur sir, for your valuable contribution regarding this topic. Do you have any question about this topic, Dr. Moshio?
Ji, madam. And thank you, Dr. Onik and Dr. Samia. ম্যাডাম, আমার আসলে আপনার অনুমতি নিয়ে সবাই যেহেতু এখানে আছে প্রায় 24 জন পার্টিসিপেন্ট, আমি রেসিডেন্টের এই কোভিড ডিউটি নিয়ে একটু কথা বলতে
বলেন।